this. Salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you would please remain standing for the playing of our national anthem.
Arms. Left. Face. Forward. Mark.
If you'd have a seat, please. Well, good afternoon. All right, now on a scale of 1 to 10, that was about a 4. This is as good as it gets here this afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We're going to do something a little different here. With the exception of our 4 incredibly honored guests sitting in the second row here, would you rise and give them the honor that they are due with a standing ovation to begin this ceremony? Friends, community members, Board of Education members, the Honorable Nathan Deal, Governor of the state of Georgia. Gentlemen, when we told you we would have a special guest to speak to you this afternoon, I hope the fact that the Governor of the great state of Georgia coming to show you just how much he appreciates your service and what you have done for your fellow Georgians and your fellow countrymen is appreciated at the deepest level. I had the opportunity today, as Governor Deal, I get to make a decision or two every day. And being very candid with you, John Denver had an old song, said some days are diamonds and some days are stones. Sometimes I make a pretty good decision, sometimes I don't. But at the end of the day, I get down on my knees and I try to ask, did we do anything right today? Was there anything that happened that was good and pure and noble and true? And about an hour ago, walking through the hallway of my office, someone came up and said, I think that is so incredible that our Board of Education and the state of Georgia recognizes those special veterans. And my response was, at the end of today, I'll know I did at least one thing right. We honored some true heroes. Before I introduce our governor, who represents us so nobly, someone asked me the question over the last couple of weeks, said, are those fellows going to have to take a test? I said, let me let you in on a little secret. They have taken and passed a test that most of us will never be presented with. I said, but I am going to take the opportunity to respect my elders and give them one last school lesson, though, so they don't feel like they've been cheated. He needs it the most. You've told him. And it's a short lesson, but before I pass the baton to Governor Deal, it is a vocabulary lesson. Jimmy Thompson's sitting there saying, Schofield, you were a math teacher and football coach. What do you know about vocabulary? Very little. But this vocabulary lesson is not for these gentlemen here. It's for the rest of us. It's for this community. It's for the generations to come, because these are words that we hear far too seldom in this day and age. And they're words that the next generation, I hope and I pray, will grasp their meaning. The first vocabulary word I want to use when I talk about you gentlemen is the word hero. And you won't hear me talking about hero, Justin Bieber, or hero, Lady Gaga. You gentlemen are truly heroes. And the vocabulary lesson and the definition that I like is hero is a noun which describes a person noted for courageous acts, nobility, strong of character. You have represented that as you have served us in the United States Armed Forces. Another question I've gotten over the last couple of weeks, and people really mean well, they just don't really know what they're asking. They said, I heard you guys are going to give those veterans a diploma. I said, I've got to stop you right there, because the words that we use matter. Words mean something. Give connotes a gift. And what a dictionary would tell us give means is it is a verb which describes handing something, presenting voluntarily, receiving nothing in return. You gentlemen receive no gifts today, for indeed we have received something greater than we can even describe in return. What happens today is nothing to do with the giving of a gift. What I would tell folks who'd ask me, and again, they were well intended, are those veterans, are you going to give them a diploma? No. I said those veterans have earned a diploma. And let me suggest that the third and final word I use in my vocabulary lesson today is earn, which is a verb which describes a person performing a duty that merits compensation. They have provided a service. Gentlemen, we are living in a time that I fear there are far too few heroes. And the individuals that we lift up and call heroes, in my mind, could be described just about anything but heroes. As a United States citizen, as a citizen of the state of Georgia, as a father, as a husband, I salute each and every one of you. I thank you. The fact that you would put your own lives on hold to stand in the gap for my family, for those that I love, is indeed a service that we will never be able to thank you for. And I hope you see this token of our appreciation today as meaningful as it is to many of us. Thank you. Would you join me in thanking these veterans? It's rare that a governor needs no introduction, but truly in Hall County, Georgia, Nathan Deal needs no introduction. I know this by heart, Nathan, but I'll look down just because I want to make sure I don't miss some of the favorites. I always pick out the things that really matter. Best decision Nathan ever made was that he married Sandra Dunnigan in 1967. He has served as a captain in the United States Army, and he has spent his life devoted to others. His public service has included being a prosecutor, a judge, a state senator, our United States congressman, and he currently serves as Georgia's 82nd governor, being re-elected in 2014. Would you join me in welcoming the Honorable Governor Nathan Deal?
I appreciate being asked to be a part of this ceremony today. These are important things that a community and a state and actually a nation should do. And that is to recognize those who have made sacrifices on behalf of the greater body of our population. Now, these five gentlemen, one who is not going to be present today, but I understand will have a representative to receive the diploma. 4 of the 5 were in the Vietnam War. While their classmates and their friends were back home graduating, they were serving their country in a very difficult and hostile land at a very important time in the history of our country. The 5th veteran to be recognized actually served in World War II. When you combine the tragic losses from World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War, those represent tens of thousands of young men and women who gave their lives for our country and for their fellow man. It's hard to ever repay those kinds of sacrifice. So this is a very small token, but it's an important one. Because sometimes when we say thank you to our veterans and we congratulate them and we give them honors, we are generally thinking in terms of what they did while they were wearing the uniform of our country. Tonight, we are recognizing and honoring you for what you gave up in order
to wear that uniform, and that was the completion of your high school education, which by most standards is considered a launching pad for whatever you need to do in life. I wish more of our young people recognize the importance of that, quite frankly. But by making that sacrifice, you are calling to the attention of everyone that it does take sacrifice to save a country, to protect a nation. And the wars in which you five were engaged, they were not wars of aggression on the part of our country. They were wars of defense, wars of protection of others, so that the spirit of democracy and freedom could be protected in other parts of the world. Because had they not done so, the likelihood is we would not have enjoyed it here today. So, for what you gave up in order to serve your country, that's what we're acknowledging today. And I believe that my suggestion to the General Assembly and their acceptance of my suggestion a couple of years ago of giving the opportunity for school systems to award diplomas to veterans such as yourselves was a very wise decision. I thank the school board for being willing to accept that opportunity of conferring these diplomas to you. Now you do something else. By doing this, you didn't have to do that. In fact, I imagine there were a time or two when you probably didn't want everybody to know that you didn't finish high school. You know, I understand that. But by standing up and saying, yes, I served my country and I didn't get my high school diploma, but I'm going to come out and I'm going to accept this diploma today. You're sending a message to your children. Most of your children have probably already graduated from high school. To your grandchildren, some of whom probably have not. And to a wider community of young people, that from your perspective, getting a high school diploma is important. That is a strong message. And you say it in a way that their parents can't say it to them. You say it in a way that a governor can't say it to them. You're saying it in a way that a school superintendent of our Hall County system can't say it to them and get them to understand. But by your act of courage, in my opinion, to come forward today and be willing to accept a high school diploma, all of these decades after your classmates had gotten theirs in the normal process of things, is a generation of courage, and it is a representation of an important element that keeps our country strong. And that is the foundation rock of education that leads to service. Now, I was listening to a national program the other day, and they were interviewing some of the high-ranking generals of one of the branches of our military. And just somehow in the conversation it came out that only about 20 to 30% of high school graduates today even qualify to be enlisted in the military in defense of our country. That is a rather staggering statistic, quite frankly. I hope that it will improve, but it requires people setting the good example for them so that they will be in a posture that they can protect our country when the time comes. So, in conclusion, thank you for having the courage to be a part of this ceremony today. Thanks to your family and your friends for coming today to support them. And as you do so, you're saying thank you to them as well. Not just for what they did when they wore the uniform, but what they've done in all of the years since that time, and what they're doing today to complete that process of a high school diploma. So we're indebted to you in many, many ways. And on behalf of the over 10 million Georgians who call this state their home, I want to extend to you my sincere and their sincere congratulations.
All just to give you an opportunity to know what's coming next, because this is something that you missed out on. By the way, I couldn't talk them into wearing robes. I said, I've got you the nicest robes, and they said, Will, we're not going there. But here's what we are going to do. If we can, I'm going to get my Board of Education to come down and sit on the front row. And gentlemen, in just a second, the band behind me, and by the way, let's give this band a nice hand. Thank you. Proud veteran leading them, Mr. Daniel Merck. We're just so proud to have him working for us in the Hall County School District. But gentlemen, what we're going to do is we're going to play Pomp and Circumstance. And so you can just take your time getting up after the music starts, and I'd like you to come around and sit down next to our Board of Education. And what we're going to do is one at a time, a board member is going to call out your name, present you with your diploma. We'll take an opportunity to get a great picture with Governor Deal and that board member. And ladies and gentlemen, let me just ask you now to please stay after. We've got a little reception planned out front. Stay as long as you would like. The board and I will have to retreat back across the parking lot to complete our school board meeting. But let me just say at this time, thank you for coming out and participating in something that is so special and something that transcends generations. So with no further ado, to Pomp and Circumstances, if you gentlemen would come up and join the board on the front row, I would appreciate that. In accordance with the regulations and the policies of the Hall County Board of Education and the state of Georgia. And on behalf of the Hall County Board of Education and myself, I hereby declare that these members, these gentlemen standing before us, have met all requirements and are therefore eligible to be designated as graduates of the best doggone school district in the United States of America. Congratulations. Jimmy Arnold Thompson, if you'd come forward. Mr. Sam Chapman, Governor Nathan Deal. Mr. Sam Chapman is going to present you a diploma, and we also want to give an opportunity, if our veterans are willing and have an interest in just telling us a little bit about their service. It is certainly not required, but we would welcome it if they would desire. Jimmy, would you tell us a few words about your service?
Well, I don't need this thing. You and the governor's already stole all my words. But there's so many of you that I know, over 20 years I know. Some of you are more special than others. And thank you for this. Terry, wherever you are, thank you for the work that you put in. Thank you so much. Vietnam was 100 years ago, it seemed like. But I wanted to go. And that was more important than school at the time. I got my GED when I was 21 years old, but this is more special than any certificate I believe I've ever got. Thank you.
Larry Dean Martin. Craig Harrington, our school board member.
I'd just like, thank you for all this ceremony, and never expected this. It's a great honor to receive this. I was very honored to serve our country when I did. So this makes it whole. There you go. It's a complete. Thank you very much.
Thank you. By the way, Jimmy is the latest graduate of East Hall High School, for those of you in the know, also known as E Hall.
Yeah.
And Mr. Martin is the newest graduate of Johnson High School. Lee M. Kane, who will be the most recent graduate of North Hall High School.
I would just like to say I want to thank all the governor, Mr. Schofield, board for giving us this. It's a big honor. I'm the old man of things. I'm WW2. So I just want to thank all of my family, proud of my family. My daughter, she worked in the Board of Education. She had an accident. So, and these men, and our fellow soldiers, we all stick together and we thank the world of them. So y'all just pray for us. And I appreciate this very much. It's an honor. I thought about this a lot of time, but when I got home, started to work, got married, family, and I had to work 43 years, set a business supplies here in Gainesville. A lot of you, I know your dads and all, so I just want to thank you very much for all that you've done. And all the people that had a hand in work, I know you had put in a lot of time. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Jerry Harold Peck. Mr. Kane, you weren't the latest graduate for very long, because now Jerry will become the most recent graduate of North Hall High School. Jerry Peck.
Well, I'd like to thank Governor Deal and Dr. Schofield for working with the veterans here in Georgia, and especially Dr. Schofield for teaching our children about the Constitution. We had a little thing that we went through the Veterans Day and gave a bunch of copies of the Constitution to the kids in school. Now, a lot of them had never thought about that, but they learned a lot through that. It's an honor to get this award. I'm like Jimmy. I got my GED while I was in the Army. Went to college, got a little bit of college. But this is more special than awards I ever got in the military. And I appreciate y'all doing what y'all have done.
We appreciate you.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Are any of Mr. Reed's family members here today? He had to have some surgery that was scheduled at the last minute, but let us take a moment to thank James Curtis Reed. And again, I'm sorry, Larry, but he would be the latest Johnson High School graduate, so you're no longer the most recent Johnson High School graduate. We would you join me in also recognizing and honoring Mr. James Curtis Reed, the most recent graduate of Johnson High School. Gentlemen, this band is going to play a little bit of music. As we walk out, again, we have a very special reception planned for you. Thank you for your service. As Governor Deal said, thank you for the example that you set for generations to come. And indeed, it has been an honor to be in the presence of some true heroes today. May God bless and keep you. May He make His face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May He lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace for the remainder of your days, both to you and to your families. God bless you.